At 9:04 on a Monday, Serena Vale fired me in a room full of people who depended on me to keep their money moving. Not privately, not gently. She did it at the start of our leadership huddle, with the glass walls facing the hallway so anyone walking past could see who was being removed. The room smelled like burnt coffee and whiteboard marker. Our weekly huddle was usually fast, outages, risk releases, then everyone scattered to build. That morning, nobody opened a laptop. Everyone watched Serena because new VPs bring new rules, and people learn quickly who gets protected and who gets cut. When she said effective immediately, I felt every eye flick toward me then away, not cruelly, carefully. Like looking too long might put a target on their own backs. My name is Avery Sinclair. I was the director of platform reliability at MeroPay, a B2B payments company that handled payroll runs for hospitals, retail chains, and logistics firms. Uptime wasn't a metric for us. It was oxygen. When we were down, people didn't just get annoyed. They didn't get paid. I'd been at MeroPay for 6 years. I built the incident process and the on-call rotation. I built the release controls that kept engineers from pushing risky changes straight into production. I wasn't loud. I wasn't flashy. I just kept the platform alive. Serena had been here 3 weeks. She walked in wearing a cream blazer and a calm smile that looked practiced. She didn't sit. She stood at the head of the table, like the meeting belonged to her. Quick organizational update, she said. We're streamlining platform, we need speed. Dan from product glanced at me. Jennifer from security leaned back with her arms crossed. HR was there too. Nina from people ops, holding a thin folder that didn't belong in a normal Monday huddle. Serena turned toward the door. Come on in. A man stepped inside like he'd rehearsed the walk. Early 30s. Crisp haircut. New laptop bag. He smiled at the room like we were about to clap for him. This is Logan Price, Serena says. He's joining as platform director, trusted operator. He's going to help us move faster. Logan nodded. Happy to be here. I waited for the transition plan. For the part where she explained how my work would be handed over safely, Serena looked straight at me. Avery, your position is being eliminated effective immediately. The silence that followed felt thick. I blinked once. Eliminated, I repeated, keeping my voice flat. Restructuring, Serena said. New direction. Nina slid the folder onto the table. Avery, this is your separation document. We'll need your badge after the meeting, Serena added, almost cheerful. And we'll need your admin roles and the incident phone. Logan will take it from here. There it was. Not just my job, my controls. I felt heat rise behind my eyes, but I didn't let it reach my face. In rooms like this, a woman who looks emotional becomes a story they can dismiss. I folded my hands. Who approved this? I asked. I did, Serena said. Did the CTO sign off? Serena's smile tightened. We don't need old bottlenecks anymore. I looked at Nina. Is this effective now? Nina didn't meet my eyes. Yes. Your access will be terminated shortly. Serena reached toward the on-call phone on the table. Give it to Logan. I didn't move, not out of pride, but out of responsibility. Who is on call today? I asked. Serena's smile widened, almost playful. Logan. Dan started to speak. Serena, today what today is, Serena cut in. And I'm done with fear-based leadership. She turned to Nina. Cut her access immediately. Nina nodded like she was trained not to feel the weight of it. I slid my badge across the table. The plastic sounded too loud against the wood. Serena picked it up with 2 fingers. Thank you, she said. Like I'd returned a borrowed pen. Logan stepped closer. Avery, if you can just hand over the admin keys, we'll make this smooth. Smooth, I repeated quietly. They're not keys. They're controls tied to policy. If you're changing that, you need change review. Serena gave a short laugh. You always make things harder than they need to be. I stood up. I didn't slam anything. I didn't raise my voice. I just picked up my bag and walked out. At 11:06, 2 hours after Ceresa smiled and said, Logan will take it from here. My personal phone buzzed once, then twice, then 3 times. A subject line lit up my screen like a warning flare. SEV0 platform dark, all regions. The buzzes weren't work notifications anymore. They were sirens. I could almost hear the war room forming without me. Chairs scraping, voices rising, someone asking where the runbook was. And the worst part was simple. The incident phone Serena grabbed? It would be ringing too. And I knew Serena Vale hadn't just fired me. She'd pulled a pin she didn't even know existed. I sat in my car with my hands on the steering wheel like I'd forgotten how to drive. The tower was right there. Glass, clean, expensive. People moved behind the windows carrying coffee, acting like the world hadn't tilted. My phone kept buzzing. But first I checked what I already knew would be gone. Work email. Session expired. VPN. Access denied. Authenticator app. Device removed by administrator. They'd done a clean termination. The kind you do when you want to control the story and stop someone from touching anything after you cut them out. On paper, it looks responsible. In real life, it's what you do when you are afraid. My throat went dry, but I kept my breathing slow. I'd trained myself to do that during incidents. Inhale, count, exhale, think. If I panicked now, I'd walk back into that building on instinct, and Serena would turn my competence into her rescue story. The first call was from Mateo, our NOC lead. I watched it ring out. Mateo only called when alarms were screaming. The second was from Kira, one of my senior engineers. I let it ring too, not because I didn't care. Because I cared too much. I'd seen this play before. A company throws you out, then drags you back in with panic and guilt. They call it helping. Then, when it's fixed, they call it your job, and your humiliation becomes free labor. The third call was from Cole Vance, our chief revenue officer. Cole never called me. If Cole was calling, the fire had reached the money. He didn't get me on the line, so he left a voicemail. His voice was tight. It's Cole. We're blind. The whole platform is down. We can't even see logs. Call me back. Please. Blind. That word landed hard. A platform can be down and still visible. You can still see what's failing, where traffic is going, what the error rate is doing. Blind means the dashboards are dark too. Blind means someone cut the wrong wire. I stared at the voicemail screen, then opened my calendar out of habit. Monday. Payroll day. Not for everybody. For our biggest clients. The ones with penalties written into contracts in plain, unforgiving language. Missed payouts triggered credits. Credits triggered escalation. Escalation triggered board calls. Teresa had fired me like it was an attitude adjustment. But she'd done it on the one day the company could not afford to guess. My phone buzzed again. Dan from product. Then Jennifer from security. Then Nina from HR. 3 missed calls stacked on top of each other. I didn't answer. I replayed Serena's voice. Logan will take it from here, and the puzzle clicked. This wasn't just about me being too slow. Serena didn't promote Logan because he was the best candidate. She promoted him because he was loyal to her. Because he wouldn't question her. Because he would push risky moves to prove he belonged. Speed feels like power when you don't understand the cost. Then a different name flashed across my screen. Marlene Cho, General Counsel. Marlene wasn't a panic caller. If she was calling, it wasn't to beg. It was to protect the company, or protect the board, from what Serena had just set in motion. I answered on the first ring. Marlene, I said. Her voice was controlled, but the urgency was there. Avery, I'm going to ask you one question, and I need a straight answer. Okay. Did Serena force a change through today without approvals? I didn't know the damage yet. I just knew the company had minutes, not hours, before anyone noticed. I looked up at the calm glass tower and realized something sharp and simple. I wasn't just holding technical knowledge. I was holding a timeline, and in a corporate disaster, the timeline decides who survives. Marlene didn't tell me to come back to the office. She told me to meet her at a quiet hotel lobby 3 blocks away, the kind with soft chairs, no cameras pointed at the entrance, and business travelers who didn't look twice at anyone. Executives panic in public, and when they panic, they also look for someone to blame. Marlene wasn't bringing me into the blast zone until she controlled the frame. She was already there when I walked in, hair pulled back, suit jacket still on like she hadn't taken a breath all morning. A slim folder sat on the table sits beside her coffee. You're not an employee right now, she said before I even sat down. So listen carefully. Do not log in. Do not touch a system. Do not help unless I put it in writing. I nodded once. Understood. She slid the folder toward me. These are our top 10 enterprise contracts. The ones that keep our lights on. I recognized the client names immediately. Hospitals, national retailers, a logistics company that paid tens of thousands of drivers every 2 weeks. I'd been in the room when we negotiated them because the sales team promised reliability language they didn't fully understand, and the board wanted someone technical to confirm we could actually deliver. Marlene opened the folder to a tab and pointed at a paragraph. Serena didn't read this. Or she read it and didn't understand it. I leaned in. Key person operations control. It was a clause that sounded boring until you realized what it did. For our biggest payroll clients, the board had promised that incident response and release control would be handled by named roles under a documented change process. It didn't say my name specifically, but it tied the responsibility to my function. Director of Platform Reliability, because auditors wanted a single accountable owner for controls. In simple terms, it meant if you remove the person who owns the safety system without an approved replacement and a documented transition, clients can demand an emergency governance review. And if that review finds a governance failure or a conflict of interest, they can freeze transactions and trigger penalties immediately. I exhaled slowly. So if Serena cut me out without board process, then she put the company in breach risk, Marlene finished. And we're down on payroll day. My phone buzzed again on the table like it wanted to interrupt. I flipped it face down. Marlene's eyes stayed on me. Now here's the part that makes this worse. Serena filed Logan as a consultant conversion. She skipped the full background process to get him access faster. I felt my jaw tighten. That's not a small shortcut. It's not, Marlene said. And she signed an exception to bypass normal change review because speed. My stomach dropped in a cold, steady way. When? Marlene tapped her screen and turned it slightly toward me. A timestamp this morning. After 9/4. After she fired me. So she removed the control owner, I said, keeping my voice even, then signed an exception to disable the controls. Marlene didn't argue. She didn't need to. The facts were already sharp enough. The platform is still dark, she said. Engineers can't restore it. DNS is wrong, failover is disabled, and monitoring access collapsed when your group was terminated. I didn't smile. I didn't feel proud. I felt sick because I had warned about this exact scenario. I documented it in my risk register last quarter. Disabling multi-region failover plus unreviewed DNS changes could cause total platform loss. And I had proof emails, meeting notes, a slide deck labeled payroll day risk, a signed risk acceptance from the previous CTO, the kind where leadership acknowledges the danger and chooses to live with it. Marlene watched my face. I'm not asking you if you can save the day. No, I said quietly. You're asking who the board blames when they realize why the day needed saving. Marlene's phone lit up with a new message. She read it, then looked back at me. The audit committee chair wants a briefing, she said. Now. And in that moment, I understood exactly what Serena had done. She didn't just fire me. She turned a technical outage into a governance crisis, with her own signature on the match. I didn't touch a keyboard. Not in the hotel lobby, not in my car, not even out of reflex. Because the fastest way to lose leverage in a corporate collapse is to give them a reason to say, she interfered after termination. I'd seen smart people get crushed by that single sentence. So I did the opposite of what everyone expected from the platform person. I built the cleanest weapon corporate life allows, a record that can survive lawyers. Marlene pulled out a legal pad. I pulled out my notebook, the one I kept for incidents, where I wrote timestamps and decisions like my life depended on it. Because sometimes it did. Start at the beginning, she said. I didn't narrate feelings, I narrated facts. 9:04 a.m. Serena announces Logan's role and fires me in the leadership huddle. 9:22 a.m. Serena signs a change control exception. 9:47 a.m. Logan pushes a cost optimization change that disables multi-region failover. 10:18 a.m. DNS changes begin. SEV0 declared. 11:12 a.m. Monitoring access collapses because the tool was tied to my terminated group. I spoke each time like a metronome. No drama. Just the sound of cause and effect. Marlene typed as I talked. Her fingers fast, her eyes calm. When I mentioned the risk register, she held up a hand. Do you have it? Not on their system anymore, I said. But I have the exported PDF from the last quarterly review. And I have the meeting invite and the slides I presented. Good, she said. Attach those. Keep it simple. Keep it clean. I sent her what I had from my personal archive. Nothing confidential I wasn't allowed to keep, just materials I'd created and stored for audit readiness. The kind of thing anyone who works in regulated environments knows to preserve. Every attachment was a nail. Risk register, PDF, warnings, slide deck. Email thread with payroll day risk in the subject line. Acknowledgement from the previous CTO. Risk accepted for Q4 timeline. Then, Marlene made a call I'd been waiting for since the moment Serena said, effective immediately. The audit chair is ready, she told me after a quick exchange. Payroll clients are escalating. One of them has a regulator contact copied on their email. I stared at the table for a second, letting that sink in. In our world, a regulator's name in an email wasn't a threat. It was a countdown. I'll brief them, I said. But I'm not walking in as an employee. Marlene's eyes narrowed slightly. Say that again. I won't be used as an unpaid firefighter, I said. If I go in like I'm still staff, Serena will say I was helping, and then blame the outage on legacy systems I supposedly owned. If I fix this quietly, she keeps her title, keeps her boyfriend, and I become the convenient scapegoat for the mess she made. Marlene nodded once. Agreed. We document your presence. She drafted a short letter on her laptop, read it aloud, and I listened for the words that mattered. Avery Sinclair is engaged at the request of General Counsel for factual testimony and governance review, not incident response. Not operations, factual testimony, governance review, a shield. Before we left, I took one slow breath and made a decision I didn't say out loud until I heard my own voice. My job is not revenge through chaos, I told her. I'm not trying to burn the company down. Marlene watched me carefully. Then what is it? Justice through clarity, I said. The truth timed correctly. Because clarity is the one thing a power-hungry executive can't bluff her way around. It doesn't care about titles. It doesn't care about charm. And Serena Vale was about to learn what it costs when your name is the signature on a failure you tried to pin on someone else. The emergency call didn't start like a meeting. It started like a courtroom where everyone pretended it wasn't one. Marlene and I joined from a small conference room at the hotel. No big screen, no company logo. Just a speakerphone, my notebook open, and the quiet understanding that whatever was said in the next 20 minutes would follow people for years. The CEO, Evan Rourke, was on first. His voice was steady but clipped. The kind of calm leaders use when they're trying not to show their fear. The CTO, Graham, sounded exhausted already. 2 board members joined a moment later, including the audit committee chair, Judith Klein. You could hear it in the way people spoke when she entered. Shorter sentences, fewer jokes. Judith didn't do chaos. She did decisions. Then Serena Vale came on. She didn't sound stressed. She sounded prepared. Let's be clear, Serena said, as if she was opening a presentation. We're dealing with an inherited mess. Legacy issues. The platform was fragile before I arrived. I stared at the speakerphone, keeping my face neutral. Serena continued. I've stepped in to stabilize leadership. Logan is already coordinating a recovery. Unfortunately, Avery refused to cooperate after termination. There it was. A clean, simple villain story. Avery is bitter. Avery is emotional. Avery is the problem. I didn't interrupt. Every extra sentence, Serena added, was more rope. Marlene let her finish, then asked one question in the flattest voice I'd ever heard. Serena, did you approve bypassing change control today? Serena answered instantly, too instantly. No. I never touched operations. My focus is leadership and alignment. Judith's voice cut in, sharp. Answer the question directly, Ms. Vale. I did, Serena said, still smooth. No, Marlene didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply shared her screen. A document filled the call for everyone else to see. The change control exception form. Serena's name in the signature box. The timestamp, 9:22 a.m. Silence hit the line like a door slamming. For a second, nobody spoke, even Serena. Then she recovered quick. That's standard, she said. Everyone does exceptions. It's how you move fast. Evan, the CEO, sounded colder now. Serena, why did you sign an exception on payroll day? Serena's tone hardened. Because we cannot keep being held hostage by process. Avery built bottlenecks. We needed speed. My hands stayed folded. My heart didn't. It was beating hard, but I kept my voice steady when Marlene glanced at me. I spoke once, calm and direct. That exception means you removed peer review, I said. It means no approvals, no rollback plan, no safety checks. In plain English, it's like telling someone to drive a bus full of passengers and saying they don't need brakes because brakes slow them down. Serena made a short, dismissive sound. Dramatic. It's not drama, I said. It's procedure. We built it because one wrong change can take down payments for millions of people. Serena tried to pivot back to me. Avery is emotional because she was let go. I didn't react. I didn't defend my feelings. I defended facts. I wrote a risk register last quarter, I said. One bullet predicted this exact scenario. Disabling multi-region failover plus unreviewed DNS changes can cause total platform loss. I escalated it. It was acknowledged. Graham, the CTO, sounded careful. Serena, is Logan with you right now? A pause. Just long enough to be loud. Yes, Serena said finally. He's here. Judith's voice changed. It dropped into something that wasn't anger. It was procedure. That's a conflict of interest, Judith said. Why wasn't this disclosed? Serena snapped, losing her polish for the first time. Because my personal life is not this board's business. It is when you hand your partner control of a regulated payroll platform, Judith replied. It is absolutely our business. Serena tried one more move. This is about speed. Avery slowed everything down, and that's when Graham spoke again, quieter than before, like he didn't want to say it but couldn't avoid it. We have log evidence, he said. Multiple unapproved pushes from Logan's account. Not just one mistake. Several. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just listened as Serena went silent again, because there was nothing left to spin. She hadn't just fired me. She'd handed the controls to someone pressing buttons he didn't understand, then lied about it on a recorded call. And now the record was real. The next hour showed me what panic looks like in executive clothing. It looks like calendar invites titled Alignment stacked on top of emergency calls. It looks like people trying to control a story while the truth keeps leaking through the cracks. My phone lit up with an email from HR, Nina again, cold subject line, corporate tone. Reminder, you are no longer employed by MarrowPay and are not authorized to represent the company in any capacity. 2 minutes later, a call came in from the CEO's assistant. Avery, she said quickly, Evan would like you to come to HQ to help stabilize things. I actually laughed once, under my breath, because the contradiction was so perfect. Don't represent us. Please come save us. Trap me into responsibility without giving me authority. Make me useful, then make me disposable again. Marlene didn't let it happen. She replied to HR and the assistant in one clean message. I was engaged only for a governance review unless a formal contract was signed. No contract, no action. For the first time all day, I felt Serena losing her grip, not because she suddenly grew a conscience, but because the company had moved into a space where titles don't win. Governance wins, legal wins, evidence wins. Inside HQ, I could picture the war room without seeing it. Engineers hunched over laptops. Someone's writing SEV0 on a whiteboard. Voices overlapping. The kind of chaos that makes people forget how they got there. Graham texted Marlene an update. The team was working blind because monitoring access had been tied to groups that got wiped when my termination hit. It wasn't sabotage. It was sloppy offboarding timed like a guillotine. But Serena was already pushing the idea that I'd built a trap. She didn't need it to be true. She needed it to be repeatable. Then the real pressure arrived, like a heavy door swinging open. A top payroll client requested an emergency call with the CEO and copied a regulator contact. Another client asked if they should pause new transactions until a formal incident report is provided. The CFO sent a board text that was short and brutal. Each hour offline measurable loss plus penalty exposure. Investors started asking why a brand new VP was leading incident response on payroll day. Serena's response wasn't humility, it was escalation. She pushed a plan to route traffic to a cheaper region, to get something back online. That phrase, something back online, tells you everything about her mindset. Not safe, not stable, just alive enough to stop the screaming, Graham objected. No testing, no controls. We can't move regulated payroll traffic like that. Serena overrode him in front of the whole team. Do it, she said. We don't have time for your fear. The partial recovery attempt failed. Worse, client data started queuing in the wrong place, raising privacy concerns. Now it wasn't just downtime. It was compliance risk. And compliance risk is what gets boards to stop debating and start removing. Judith called Marlene privately. I didn't hear the whole conversation, but I heard enough when Marlene returned and looked at me. Her face was calm. Her eyes were sharp. Do we have grounds to suspend Serena today? Judith had asked. Marlene looked at me like she was offering a door. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just said yes. Then I added the part that mattered most. And I can prove it cleanly. I walked into MarrowPay's boardroom as a guest, not an employee, and that one detail changed the air around me. Guests aren't in anyone's chain of command. You can't threaten their performance review. You can't pull them into a side meeting and coach them. You can't tell them to calm down. You either listen or you don't. And if you don't, it's obvious. The boardroom sat on the top floor, all glass and quiet money. The kind of room where decisions get made in soft voices and then become hard realities for everyone else. Serena was already there. She looked like she'd dressed for a win. Thick hair, perfect posture, that same cream blazer like armor. But the moment she saw me, her smile paused. Not because she was scared of me. Because I wasn't supposed to be here. In her version of the day, I was gone. Judith Klein sat at the head of the table with a thin binder in front of her. She didn't stand when I entered. She didn't greet Serena warmly either. She simply nodded once at Marlene, like the meeting had already started in her mind hours ago. Evan, the CCO, sat 2 seats down, jaw tight. Graham, our CTO, looked like he hadn't blinked since the outage began. The CFO had a laptop open with a spreadsheet that probably made her heart hurt. Judith spoke first. This is an emergency governance session related to a SEV0 outage, client penalty exposure, and potential compliance implications. We will stick to facts. Her eyes moved to Serena. Miss Vale, you will not interrupt. Serena's chin lifted. Of course, Marlene began. She didn't dramatize. She presented the timeline like she was laying pieces on a table. 9:4. Serena announces Logan's role and terminates me effective immediately. 9:22. Serena signs a change control exception. 9:47. Logan pushes a change disabling multi-region failover. 10:18. DNS changes begin. 6. SEV0 declared. 11:12. Monitoring access collapses due to termination-linked group changes. When Marlene finished, Judith looked at Graham. Explain failover in plain terms. Graham cleared his throat. Failover is our safety net, he said. If one region fails, traffic automatically shifts to another. Disabling it is like removing spare tires before a highway trip. It saves a little cost, but it turns small problems into total outages. The CFO added numbers that made the room colder. We are already in penalty exposure. Every hour offline increases risk, and our largest payroll clients are escalating. Mentioned regulatory reporting. Serena opened her mouth. Judith held up a hand without looking at her. Not yet. Then Judith turned to me. Mrs. Sinclair, your role. I kept my voice steady. I was director of platform reliability, I said. I owned incident process, release controls, and change governance for production systems. And you were terminated today, Judith said. Yes. Why? Judith asked, looking straight at Serena. Serena leaned forward, voice smooth again. Avery was rigid. Slow. We needed speed. I'm building a modern organization. Judith didn't react. She looked back at me. Sinclair, explain change control simply. It's a safety process, I said. It ensures risky procession changes are reviewed by more than one person. It forces rollback plans. It creates accountability. It exists because one bad change can stop payroll. Marlene slid my risk register printout across the table. Judith flipped through it in silence. I pointed to one line. This bullet was logged last quarter. Disabling multi-region failover plus unreviewed DNS changes can cause total platform loss. I presented it. It was acknowledged. Serena scoffed softly. She logs everything. Fear culture. Judith finally looked at Serena. Her voice stayed calm. We are not discussing personality. We are discussing duty. Then Judith turned the page to the change control exception. Serena's signature. Serena's face didn't change much, but her eyes flickered. Judith's tone sharpened. Miss Vale, you signed an exception at 9:22 a.m. Why? Serena's answer came too fast. Because we needed to move. And you promoted Logan Price, Judith said, and terminated Ms. Sinclair, then allowed Mr. Price to execute unreviewed changes. Serena straightened. Logan is qualified. Judith nodded once. Bring him in. Logan walked into the boardroom like someone entering a test he didn't study for. He sat, glanced at Serena for comfort, then tried to smile at Judith. Judith didn't smile back. Mr. Price, why did you change DNS without peer review? Logan cleared his throat. The cloud provider was acting weird. We had to optimize routing. Graham's voice came out dry. That's not an answer, Judith asked again slower. Why did you do it without review? Logan's eyes started to Serena. I was following direction. Serena snapped, sharp and sudden. Stop talking, too late. Evan leaned forward. Sarita, he said, voice low. Did you disclose your relationship with Logan? Serena stiffened. That's private. Judith's voice stayed calm, but it cut. Not when it touches control of payroll systems. Silence filled the room again, thick as smoke. Judith opened her binder and spoke like she was reading a procedure she'd used before. We have evidence of governance bypass, conflict of interest risk, and inaccurate statements made on a recorded executive call. We will vote on temporary suspension pending investigation. Serena's face went flat. You can't be serious. Judith didn't look at her. Board members? Hands rose. The vote passed. Serena didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just sat there like she'd been turned off. Judith turned to me. Avery, she said, using my first name for the first time, can you stabilize the platform, under contract, starting now? I didn't answer immediately because I needed everyone in that room to understand what was happening. I wasn't crawling back. I was returning under terms that matched the reality they'd tried to ignore. Yes, I said finally, under contract, with written authority. Judith nodded like she expected that. Marlene already had a template open on her laptop. In boardrooms, the people who survive aren't the loudest. They're the ones who come prepared. The agreement was short, but every line mattered. Board-authorized engagement, emergency stabilization scope, and a clear boundary that I would not act without documented control. I added 2 requirements before I signed. First, written authority over incident response and production changes until the platform was stable. Second, an immediate change freeze unless approved through documented review. No exceptions. No, because speed. Judith approved both without blinking. When I walked into the war room, nobody cheered. They didn't need to. The room already looked different the moment they saw me. Not as the fired woman, but as someone the board had called back in. Engineers made space. Laptops turned toward me, voices lowered. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't lecture. I simply asked, what's the current state? What do we know for sure? We restored monitoring access first, because you can't fix what you can't see. Then we rolled back the DNS changes with a controlled plan. Then we re-enabled multi-region failover. The safety net Serena's speed had cut. The platform didn't come back in one heroic moment. It came back in phases. Internal health checks, low-risk traffic, then payroll clients one by one, with confirmation calls and careful tracking. When the first major client confirmed successful payouts, the room exhaled like people coming up from underwater. Someone actually put their head down on the table for a second, just to feel the relief. The investigation moved faster than Serena expected because the evidence was clean. Her signed exception, the rushed access conversion, the conflict of interest chain, the lie on a recorded call, none of it was opinion. Within days, the board removed her. Logan was terminated the same afternoon, escorted out without drama. Drama is what people do when they don't have facts. A week later, Evan met me with Judith and Marlene. He didn't apologize with soft words. He offered a structural correction. Senior VP of Reliability and Controls, reporting directly to him, with equity and a seat in change governance. Not a nice apology. A permanent shift in power. I didn't celebrate loudly. I just thought of Serena's smile when she said, Logan will take it from here. He did. And that's why the entire platform went dark, until the board finally let the right person turn the lights back on.